Her love felt genuine until I found my life reduced to hashtags and viral clips. Each moment was crafted for her followers. Less love, more like a polished stranger living under a spotlight, and there was nothing I could do but watch everything I cherished become a public spectacle. Her laugh echoed through the house we called ours, a lilting melody that once warmed the coldest corners of my heart. I thought she'd love the person beneath the fortune, the man beneath the layers of luxury. But that was before her fingers raced across the screen, turning our private moments into a digital spectacle. How I Married a Millionaire. Those words cast a harsh spotlight on everything I was afraid to believe. It was like watching an autopsy of our marriage, dissected in front of millions. Each like and comment another sharp reminder of how little I truly understood the woman beside me. I'd given her everything, or so I thought, only to witness the most intimate parts of my life tagged and viral, distilled into moments that told a story of calculated love. Now, as I try to piece together where it all went wrong, my heart trembles on the precipice of despair, wondering if any of it was real. The glow of my phone casts long shadows across the walls as I scroll through the app, my eyes half closed against the dull lull of a sleepless night. It starts innocently enough, just swiping through videos, an escape from the silence that settled over the apartment like a shroud. That's when I see it. Her face, the one I've memorized in countless waking moments. Her TikTok. The caption reads, "How I Married a Millionaire." Curiosity prickles under my skin as I tap on it, not knowing the depth of what I'm about to plunge into. Her voice echoes softly in the too-quiet room, slipping past the defenses I didn't know I needed to raise. "Hey guys," she starts, her smile as radiant and disarming as ever, painting over the faint shadow of a memory that should bring me comfort, not confusion. I feel the bed sink beneath me, my body heavy with the weight of something intangible, yet undeniably there. I laugh at first, a small, incredulous sound that barely escapes my lips, but as her story unravels in an emotive ballet of words and gestures, the laughter dies a quick and fiery death. "We met at a party," she continues, her voice smooth as silk, wrapping itself in echoes around the room. "And I knew he had money. Of course I did." Each casual admission she offers is a razor blade hidden in honey, slicing at me with surgical precision. I can see myself reflected in the screen, a ghostly image superimposed over hers. I blink hard, trying to shake the growing sense of unreality that envelopes me. Was this some elaborate social experiment? A melodramatic role-play I wasn't informed of? This wasn't love at first sight, she confesses, her honesty biting with a cold, undiluted cruelty. And it all starts to come apart, the walls of a carefully constructed world crumbling under the weight of her truths. I hear her laugh, and it isn't the sound of warm Sunday mornings or quiet dinners. It's the laugh of someone who's taken her bow and stepped off the stage. In the series of pixelated images she weaves, I'm a character, rich and clueless, sketched in broad strokes with no hint of the tender detail I always thought we shared. I see her describing extravagant gestures with glints of humor and pride that twist inside me. With each word, the air thickens as if the room knows and pities me in its silence. The news tightens, and I find it difficult to swallow, her revelations squeezing breath from between my teeth. I thought, why not have some fun, she concludes, and I can't help but marvel at how fun and fake can dance so closely, indistinguishable to some. As the video ends, so does something unnamed inside me, snap like a taut wire. But in that void, questions bloom like weeds, stubborn and unrelenting, demanding answers only she can provide. The morning light drips uneasily through the blinds, casting long shadows that stretch across the room like accusations. I watch them ripple over the floor as I lean against the doorway, arms crossed tightly against the simmering storm inside me. We're in the kitchen, where every clang of dishes seems louder, more jarring, like the universe vibrating with the tension between us. She stands by the counter, the scent of fresh coffee thick in the air. It should be comforting, but to me, it feels like a mask, a thin veil over the truths we're about to spill. Her back is turned, and I can see the tension in her shoulders, the way her fingers drum nervously against the ceramic mug. She knows we're not just talking about breakfast. I'm trying to understand. I manage, my voice a hesitant ripple before the waves crash. Her head tilts slightly, not enough to meet my gaze, and I can feel the hesitation crackling between us. It's like standing at the edge of a cliff, knowing there's no going back once you take that step forward. The silence is oppressive, wrapping around us as she finally turns to face me. Her eyes are a mixture of defiance and regret, a kaleidoscope of emotions that threaten to swallow us both. I take a breath, my voice roughened by a night spent wrestling with undelivered truths. What does all of this mean? I ask, each word like pulling a thorn from flesh, raw and necessary. She starts, faltering under the weight of an explanation that doesn't want to come. I never meant for it to get this. I can see her mouth moving, words trying to form, but it's her eyes that hold my attention, those still glistening with things unspoken, secrets buried deep. I wanted your heart, not your followers. I mutter, more to myself than to her, my voice trembling beneath the weight of exposed deception. Her face falls, the defiance flickering out like a light snuffed too soon. It was never about them, she protests, a soft plea wrapped in frustration. I needed you to see me, for me. See you? I echo, my tone a sharp edge I don't bother to dull. How can I, when you've wrapped yourself in these games? It feels like the air should crack, split us apart with the tension, but instead, it clings to us, heavy and unrelenting. Her gaze drops to the floor, tracing the patterns where light meets shadow. I thought if I could get your attention, truly get it, you'd understand what's been hiding beneath the surface. I don't know what to say, the hurt a living thing clawing at my insides. The morning sun rises higher, burning away dreams of how things were supposed to be, leaving only the raw, naked truth. Her hand reaches out, trembling like a leaf in the wind, and touches mine. It's a question, a silent plea for forgiveness or understanding, maybe both. I don't pull away, but I don't grasp back either. The moment is a fragile stalemate, fragile as the dawn creeping through to flood the room, leaving us exposed and nowhere to hide. The world loves a fairy tale, she said softly, tears glistening like fractured truth beneath her eyes. Her voice wavered, rippling through our silence, each word sliding off her tongue like a confession she didn't quite want to own. We were perched across from each other, a coffee table strewn with the remains of unopened takeout boxes littering the battlefield between us. Her fingers traced the rim of a cup, a ritual for the restless and repentant. I watched her, unsure of which part of myself to let loose. The angry, hell-bent part that screamed she had betrayed me, twisted our life into a disposable storyline for clicks and likes? Or the softer part, the part that wanted to reach across the mess, wipe her tears away, and tell her I understood? It was a battle I didn't know how to win without losing something of myself in the process. What does that mean? I asked, my voice cracking somewhere between curiosity and accusation. I felt as though I was standing on the brink of a chasm, unsure whether stepping forward would find solid ground or send me tumbling down. Her eyes broke from mine, fluttering closed as though seeking solace in the temporary darkness. I didn't mean for it to become what it did. At first, it was just me sharing us. Our love. It felt beautiful and raw, and I wanted the world to see how happy we were. She opened her eyes, pinning me with their honesty, begging me to see not just the grime, but the glimmer she insisted was there all along. But it was my life too, you know? My story. I replied, my pulse humming angrily beneath my skin. You turned it into content. How could you not realize what it would do? Silence pooled around her, her breath a soft undercurrent. It got away from me, she admitted, voice choked with the kind of desperation that comes from belated realization, the echo of something once innocently intended but long since overshadowed. There was so much joy in the beginning, and then it became something else. She seemed smaller, like the version of herself she was showing me now had been hiding away, suffocated under the weight of choices that had spun wildly out of control. And there was truth in that too, a vulnerability I couldn't deny or dismiss. It was tangled so tightly with my rage that they were one single knot of emotion, impossible to untangle. I released a shaky breath, feeling it shudder through my chest. Beneath my anger lingered the deepest ache of someone who once had dreams shattered, not by a towering gorilla of malice, but by life's relentless insistence on irony. I wanted to believe her, to forgive her, to somehow fit her story into my own like puzzle pieces meant to coexist. Her voice broke through again, fragile yet determined. I never set out to hurt you. That was never the goal. And there it was, the ragged truth. Halting, heart-wrenching, yet flickering with hope. The space between us crackled, heavy with the weight of unsaid things. In that moment, all I knew was that we'd have to carve a path forward, one way or another. I sit at the worn-out table by the window, the light outside dimming, casting shadowed lines on the floor. I used to love watching sunsets here, wrapped in your warmth. But now the air is so heavy it smudges the edges of my thoughts. The room feels full of echoes, our laughter whispering around the walls like spirits of something lost. I turn my gaze inward, like flipping through a series of silent films. There's that day at the carnival, your hand in mine, the sun catching in your hair. We spun on the Ferris wheel, high above the mundanity below. We floated, invincible. But memories I treasure curling on themselves, unraveling. Every thread you said, every "I love you" replayed now feels off-key, like a tune gone sour. They feel rehearsed, scripted by an audience I never knew was watching. Who was the you I never saw? The weight of it sinks deeper in my chest, the pain that was once love, now a persistent aching. I remember our first adventure, stumbling through rain-soaked streets, laughing like children with secrets. We ducked into a dim cafe, where your smile was all I knew. Did you mean it? Or was even then just another line, perfect for the screenplay you were living? Conversations swirl around me, spilling from the kitchen where we once cooked side by side, hands and hearts in sync. Everything tastes coated with the bitter tang of doubt now. The knife I used to slice a lemon feels colder, heaver, cut through the air I am suffocating in, a deceit unpeelable. Books still cling to their shelves, words of love and devotion, filled with dedications and dog-eared pages marking a journey I believed was genuine. But even they betray me in their silence, leaving me to question every shared line, every intertwined syllable. Did you mark them with sincerity or something else entirely? I try to see the light. Nostalgia tugs at my ribs, but my clarity is clouded. I relive our nights of whispered promises under star-strewn skies. It feels like watching a movie with missing scenes. My heart once leapt at your presence, but now it hesitates, wraps itself in layers like an old coat against this chill of realization. The specter of trust, the uncertainty between us, looms large, a figure in the room that taints our history with its presence. I miss you, the you I thought was real, and I miss us, the flawless story we wrote. You are here, yet absent, like smoke slipping through my grasp. And in this silent retreat, betrayed by my own memories, I begin to wonder if the shadow of you I held so dear was ever mine to begin with. I close my eyes, willing myself to awaken, to find that you're still the person I thought I knew. But the silence stretches, unyielding, leaving me alone with all that's left unsaid, unanswered. I can almost hear the whisper of your footsteps echo away into the gloom. I sat across from Daniel, my oldest friend, in the dim light of the coffee shop. The world outside bustled on, oblivious to the turmoil knotting my insides. I hadn't slept. The dark circles under my eyes felt like shrouds, heavy and damning. Swirling the coffee mug between my hands, I finally spoke, my voice raw and shaky. I found a video of her on TikTok, laughing about how she hit the jackpot with me. I said, barely able to keep eye contact. Daniel's eyes widened, a mixture of disbelief and anger flashing through them. He leaned back, running a hand through his hair. "Are you serious, man?" he asked, his voice low, tinged with incredulity. "What the hell's wrong with her?" I shrugged, a bitter smile twitching at my lips, more a reflex than anything else. I needed someone to tell me it's not just in my head, that it's as messed up as it feels. He nodded, leaning forward again, elbows on the table. "It is, trust me. Look, if she can't see the real you beyond the money, she's not worth the pain," he said, his words carrying a steadiness I desperately needed. They hung in the air between us, a lifeline tossed out into my storm-tossed existence. I tried to hold on to that, but doubt clawed at my insides. But what if I've been, I don't know, blind this whole time? The words came out more vulnerable than I wanted, my voice breaking slightly. Like, what if this is all I am to people? Just a paycheck? Daniel shook his head, his gaze unwavering. "We've known each other since middle school. You were the same guy before the money. You know that, right? Man, you're still the same person to me. Don't let this screw with your head." I watched his expression, seeing no trace of doubt or pity. Just the unflinching gaze of a friend who wasn't fazed by my success or my failures, who still saw me underneath it all. It felt grounding in a way I hadn't realized I needed so desperately. But why didn't I see it? I asked, voice almost a whisper, fear and self-recrimination gnawing at my thoughts. The coffee shop seemed to shrink around me, every sound amplifying the chaos in my mind. Daniel sighed, leaning back with a contemplative look. Sometimes, we miss the signs when we're too close. But you've seen it now. It's not too late. For a few moments, we sat in silence, letting his words sink in. They were a stark contrast to the noise in my head, offering a strange kind of peace. I nodded slowly, meeting his gaze. Yeah, thanks, I said, feeling some of the weight lift. It wasn't all gone, but at least there was a path forward, even if it was still just a vague shape in the distance. Her touch felt foreign, a whisper from a world I no longer belonged to, every beat of my heart echoing with doubt. We sat in the dim light of our living room, shadows clinging to the corners like silent witnesses. She was next to me, close enough to brush against my arm, but the warmth that used to wrap around me as her presence now seemed as distant as a fading dream. The ticking clock marked time with a cruel precision, each second a reminder of what was slipping away. She tried. She really did. I miss us, she said, her voice tender but tinged with desperation. She reached over, her fingers finding mine. I flinched at the contact, betraying the distrust coiled tight within me. Her eyes searched mine, shimmering particles of hope on the brink of dimming. I knew what she needed, a gesture, a word, something to assure her that I wasn't slipping into some unreachable shadow. But the effort felt monumental, a bridge I couldn't bring myself to cross. Me too, I replied, my voice dull and lifeless, as though the words had been thrown across a chasm and stumbled, losing their strength halfway. The space between us seemed to swell, filling with unanswered questions and half-formed apologies. Silence became a third companion, thickening the air. Her face softened, a tentative smile appearing, but it wavered as she caught my eyes and saw only the cold hollowness there. Her affection felt strategic, as if she were trying to navigate a minefield layout only I knew. Every touch, each word felt like a move in an elaborate game of chess that neither of us wanted to play. I could sense her resolve crumbling, her hand withdrawing, leaving behind a chill that sunk into my skin. Suddenly, the things around us, the table, the books, the pictures on the wall, felt like props in a play, whispers of a life that no longer fit. I could sense her watching, waiting for me to say more, to unravel the bitterness in my tone. But distrust wrapped itself around me like armor, shielding me from whatever comfort she tried to offer. Maybe we should, she began, her voice barely more than a thread of sound before it snapped and fell away. The weight of my resistance seemed to crush whatever words had followed, choking them back into the silence. I nodded, my mouth dry, a simple gesture meant to fill the void. Her eyes dropped to the floor, the light flickering in them dulling until it was just a memory of what had been. I felt each heartbeat, echoing the fractures growing in this space we still occupied. We were together but isolated, whispers in a crowd, trying not to scream. There was nowhere else for the scene to go. All I could do was watch as we drifted further into the silence, lost in the growing abyss. For a moment, beneath her teary facade, I glimpsed the woman I married, and my heart twisted in its chains. She looked different somehow, softer, like the years of distance had briefly peeled away, leaving us exposed. We were in the kitchen, the scent of burnt coffee mingling with the sharp chill of our unspoken regrets. Her eyes, glistening with unshed tears, found mine across the chipped counter. It was an accidental gaze, like she hadn't meant to look so exposed, and I almost flinched from the rawness of it. Her fingers trembled slightly as she pushed a steaming mug towards me. My first instinct was suspicion, but the mundane act, her offering, sparked an old memory of warmth, a comforting ritual from the earliest days. Back when things were simple, when a cup of coffee shared in the morning felt like a promise, not a battlefield. I wrapped my hands around the mug, letting the heat seep into my palms. Thanks, I murmured, caught in the delicate web of familiarity and uncertainty. She nodded, the action deliberate, as if she was confirming something to herself. You look tired, she said softly, gesturing to the chair across from her, the invitation lingering in the air between us. Her voice was tender, laced with an unusual kindness that felt almost foreign. Was it genuine concern or another act, another layer to dissect and mistrust? I hesitated, the usual armor of skepticism feeling unusually heavy today. My heart was pounding, caught between the urge to believe her again and the history of our wounds. I sat down, the chair creaking beneath the weight of my doubt. It's been, exhausting, I replied, catching the slight tremor in my own voice. She let out a soft sigh, as if steadied by my unwilling vulnerability. I've been thinking, she started, her eyes locking onto mine with an intensity that pulled me in. About us. About everything that's happened. The words hung there, pregnant with potential. I wanted to fling the hope aside, to shield myself from the sweetness that had grown poisonous over the years. Yet, there was something in her gaze, a flicker of desperation maybe. It made me want to reach across the gulf of silence and touch the truth. My mind raced, sifting through memories and arguments, searching for breadcrumbs of reality. Could this be the start of mending, or just another chapter in the twisted play we'd been part of for too long? Her hand, unsteady, reached across the table, her fingers grazing mine. The contact was lightning, shattering and reviving something deep inside. I didn't flinch, my heart didn't allow it. It clung to the possibility that maybe, just maybe, she meant it this time. But the fear clung too, a dark twin of hope. As she squeezed my hand, her touch warm and pleading, a silent scream inside asked, could this really be her, or just another layer of beautiful deception stalking us both? The room is cloaked in darkness, a darkness that feels alive, crawling over the walls and swallowing the last shreds of familiarity. I lie on the bed, the sheets cool against my skin, though nothing could temper the fire raging in my mind. The silence here is thick, almost palpable, broken only by the occasional distant hum of traffic outside. The bed feels larger now, an expanse of emptiness next to me that used to be filled by her presence. I squeeze my eyes shut, trying to block out the specters of these thoughts. What once was, what will never be again. Why am I so terrified of being loved only for my wealth? It's a bitter question that gnaws at my insides, leaving me hollow and raw. It's easy, isn't it, to become just a headline? Rich, but unlovable. The world is full of people with smiles that don't reach their eyes, words that don't match their thoughts. I know. I've spent years perfecting the art myself. But here, alone in this room, there's no one left to perform for, no audience for whom I must play the impenetrable man. I try to remember a time when things were different, moments filled with unguarded laughter and honesty, but those memories drift just out of reach, like shadows at dusk. Did I ever believe it was real? Or was it always like this? A masquerade where I willingly donned the mask of affluence, knowing it sat over something infinitely more fragile, a heart that feared exposure, a man who simply longed to be seen. The tension in my chest coils tighter, an ever-present companion, as I force myself to sit up. My gaze drifts to the framed photographs on the dresser. Snapshots of a life I meticulously constructed, each image a facade of contentment. It dawns on me that I've been living in fear. My life an endless cycle of ensuring wealth remained the one solid thing about me, the one undeniable truth. Would I be enough without it? Could I be loved if stripped bare of all that luxury? Her absence punctuates my thoughts, an echo in the silence that surrounds me. We were supposed to have been different, two souls colliding, building something genuine amidst the artifice. But did she ever really see me? Or just what I wanted her to see? These questions grind at me, each one a relentless probe into parts I'd rather keep buried. Despite it all, I cling to hope, however faint. A naive, irrational hope that maybe, someday, I won't be defined by my bank account, that these fears won't shape the entirety of me. For now, though, I am left with the sound of my own breathing, a steady reminder that I'm still here, still fighting against the weight of a life I dreamed up but can't fully inhabit. Her eyes were wary, darting around the room like trapped creatures searching for escape, but there was nowhere left to run. I could feel my pulse hammering against my ribs, each beat underscoring the silence that had stretched between us ever since I had demanded the truth. For a moment, it was just the two of us, suspended in the agony of the unspoken, the air between us thick with unclaimed words. "Just tell me," I whispered, my voice barely more than a breath. "I need to hear it." She looked down at her hands, twining together in a nervous dance, her nails glittering like tiny knives. Her silence was an abyss, vast and terrifying, but I couldn't watch her drown in it anymore. "Why?" I pushed, more urgently now, the word bursting out like an overdue admission. "Why hide so much?" She exhaled, a shuddering sigh that seemed to drag the truth up from the depths. "Because, how do you open up when your whole world is just a goddamn stage performance?" Her voice cracked, tangling in the raw edges of her vulnerability. Watching her fold in on herself, shoulders curling as though shielding from an unseen blow, I felt something unravel within me. She wasn't the polished image, the carefully curated persona. She was raw and wounded, and so painfully real. She continued, words tumbling out now, heavy with years of silence. "Every day it's this act. Everything I show, everything I say, it's like I'm living someone else's life. I didn't mean to lie. I didn't even know how deeply I was tangled in them. I wanted to reach out, touch her, anchor both of us from the storm her confession had stirred up. Instead, I just listened, each word peeling back layers I'd never seen before. I thought," her voice trembled, faltered, "I thought if I could just keep it all up, you'd stay. You'd see this perfect version of me, and it would be enough." The truth settled heavily between us, a burden we both carried. Yet, for the first time, I saw her, not an influencer or illusion, just her. Vulnerable, flawed, achingly human and beautiful in that rawness. Maybe it was the weight of all the defenses crumbling, or just the way the dusk light softened her features, melting the barriers I'd held between us. Her gaze flicked to mine, a silent plea for anything, understanding, acceptance, redemption. I found my voice, unsure but driven by something greater than certainty. "I'm still here, aren't I?" The question hovered, filled with an unspoken promise. Her eyes widened, shimmering pools that seemed to hold a flicker of hope amidst the wreckage of what had been shattered. In that fragile moment, I knew this wasn't the end. It was our beginning, a chance to mend, to rebuild something real and untainted. The room was quiet except for the rhythmic ticking of the clock, each tick feeling like a countdown to some unknown judgment. My heart was a drum, unsteady, echoing in the hollow silence. We stood there, facing each other, my world teetering on the edge of possibility or loss. Her eyes, God, those eyes. They were searching, imploring mine for an answer I wasn't sure I could give. Or perhaps the answer I'd already given was what scared me the most. The air between us was thick, like it carried every unsaid word, every ache, every apology. "We have to decide," she said softly, the words hanging in the air like a plea more than a statement. "Yeah." My voice barely broke a whisper, shaky and raw. I turned slightly, eyes darting to the window, watching shadows of the late afternoon stretch across the floor like fingers threatening to pull us apart. Even the sun seemed unsure, torn between shining brightly and retreating to dusk. "We can't keep existing like this, can we?" Her voice cracked, tiny fractures forming a crevasse deep enough to swallow every unspoken fear. "It's either we rebuild," she hesitated, the word itself a fragile bridge, or lingered, a specter haunting the space between us. My thoughts were a chaotic symphony, doubts and dreams, regret and hope clashing against each other in a cacophony that made my chest tighten until I almost couldn't breathe. Could I do it? Could we? Was there enough left to rebuild, or were we just trying to conjure something from the ashes of what we once had? I longed to reach out, pull her close, but there was that space, daunting and immovable, a reminder of the distance that had grown between us, the silence that had settled in the corners of our lives. "I want to believe we can," I said finally, my voice brimming with a quiet conviction I hoped would carry us both. "But it can't be like before. We have to be honest, really bare. No more masks." She nodded slowly, her eyes glistening with unshed tears, capturing the delicate dance between knowing and unknowing. "It will take time." "It will," I agreed, feeling a cautious warmth spread through me. And there it was, the crossroads, stark and formidable, offering no guarantees. But in its simplicity, there was something tender, something true. The crossroads were a place where paths converged before they diverged, a place where we could stand still, if only for a moment, and imagine the futures that lay just out of sight. We have today, I whispered, the corner of my mouth bravely attempting a small, hopeful smile. Maybe even tomorrow. She looked at me, a fragile trust shimmering between us, and in her eyes, I saw the glimmer of something that felt achingly like redemption, or perhaps just the promise of not walking the path alone. In that silent understanding, we took a tentative step together, uncertain yet undeniably, toward whatever awaited.